Okay, what's down here? Trying to watch it all at the same time. All right, all right, all right. Well, happy Winning Wednesday, everybody. Good evening, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world today. It is now 5:56. As promised, I'm here for our 88 days into 2023, right? We're maximizing and leveling up our lives. So I don't want to waste anyone's time. So we have about 2 minutes. And for those, I don't know what is going on here on my YouTube. I hope that it's going. I'm just going to pray that all this work and all this technology is a little tricky sometimes. So let's see, let's do it this way, right? Yeah, that's better. That's a little better. All right. Okay. Well, good evening. Good afternoon. How was your Wednesday? If you're joining us live, please put in the city and state or where you're from so that I know how far this is reaching. And let me know if you have enjoyed our time together thus far. We're going to be reviewing, what was our topic this morning? Our topic this morning was on emotional wellness. So as time is ticking and as people join on and join in, you can always go back and watch the replay to see what parts you missed. Emotional wellness is key into how we navigate through challenges in life, because life on life terms, we are sometimes, I don't want to say powerless. I want to say sometimes we do not have control over what happens in our lives, right? So, and in those moments, how do you handle those moments? What do you do? Because life is going to happen. And I'm going to share this story with you all as it's 5:58. So I'm just starting a couple minutes early because your time is valuable and I don't want to waste it. I'm coming to you every evening for an hour. So you giving me your time is important to me and I appreciate that. So therefore, I'm going to make sure that I'm respectful of your time. Let's just begin this. As we grow older and begin our own families, so do our parents. Given that I had become a mother around the same age my parents had me and married, it was a bittersweet season of my life, as I too married. Unlike my parents, I got divorced. So as I navigated through my seasons of rearing my children, I faced many challenges, all while being responsible for the safety and well-being of my children. As time went on, I was able to get my education, and along the journey, I received TANF and was employed until I faced challenges with childcare. But I continued. During the season of my life, I would try to visit my parents at least once a month so my children would know their grandparents. As time was moving on, my parents' marriage became a strained marriage. Okay, sorry, it's a lot going on here. As time went on, my parents' marriage, where's my at? They confuse me all the time. They all know I'm busy at this time. Let me see. I was able to get my education along the journey. I received TANF and was employed until I faced challenges with childcare, but I continued. During this season of my life, I would try to visit my parents at least once a month so my children would know their grandparents. As time was moving on, my parents' marriage became a strained marriage, yet they continued and remained married. A relationship and another marriage that ended in divorce, I received a call from my cousin informing me that I needed to come take care of my mother and her business, as her mother was dealing with my mother and it was affecting her health. So I quickly made my way to my mother along with my sisters, whom filled me in on the current events with my mother. This season of my life, I like to call it lost and confused, as now I was filling a role that I was not comfortable with in the very beginning, and my aunts walked with me during the entire season. There was many changes going on in this season. My children and I moved in with my parents, which provided me a greater insight into my parents' personal matters. And during this time, I was not just assisting in the care of my mother, but soon I realized my father was not well either. So now I was caring for two teenage children and my parents, while trying to maintain and keep a marriage together that was just falling apart. Yet I kept right on going, and everything that could go wrong was going wrong. My male child became a man child. My female child was growing and developing into her womanhood. As I transitioned jobs, I resigned from my counselor job in Bordentown, New Jersey, to come work closer to home, between the city and Runnymede, New Jersey, collecting partial assistance due to working part-time until a full-time became available. Issues and concerns grew between my siblings and I, as my mother was fighting every day to get her business in order as she began to progress with her illness. Now, why did I share that story with you? I shared that story with you for a few reasons. Because one, it describes my ability to deal with adversity in life, as well as it shows how well I was able, well, I don't know how well I was at the time, but I just I had a way of that I deal with enormous amounts of stress. And I have a way of doing it and taking it with a grain of salt, so to speak, to where what is going on, I try to not allow it to affect me. Now, that was many years ago from now, that story, but that's how all this began. That's where I was in the process of working towards my goals that led me here. And emotional wellness, like I said, is the ability to successfully handle life stresses and adapt to change. The power of your mind to think of challenging situations as growth opportunities. Now, I don't know, I have to be honest, I don't know if I was looking at that as a growth opportunity, but I knew something was going on. I knew that my life was changing dramatically. I had a lot of ups and downs. As I shared with you, I was receiving TANF, I was working part-time, still trying to obtain my education to graduate at that time, raising two teenage children. And we all know what comes along with the whole of raising teenage children. Not everyone goes through it. However, some children, their personalities, their character, who they are, the way that they think, and will cause them to behave in certain manners that can kind of disrupt your life a little bit. And it may cost you some money. I learned a lot during that phase of my life. I learned that if your children hang out in your home while you are at work and they are there with other children, that is $1,000 fine, ladies and gentlemen, that you will pay if something happened in that home that you're not at because your children are obeying your rules, being in school and doing what they need to do. $1,000 fine. So any parents of young children, you might want to keep that in mind. And you might want to let them know that how important it is for them to be where they need to be when they're supposed to be there. Because if not, it's going to cost you, and going before a judge and trying to explain why your child's not in school when you know that your child should be in school can be challenging if you have not taken the steps to really monitor and see what's going on with them and being aware and even being on top of it. And I love to tell this part because I swore I was mom of the year. You could not tell me I wasn't mom of the year. I was on the PTA. I was sitting in the classrooms. I was sitting in lunch rooms with the kids, getting to know not only my children, but the other children that were students at the school, fellow friends and classmates of my children. I did it so much that even now to this day, it's funny because I've come across people and they're like, do you still work for the school board? I said, I never worked for the school board. I was just an actively involved parent. But, these are some of the lessons that I learned along the way. And when they get a little older and say they don't abide by your rules and they get caught up in the juvenile justice system, that is also costly to the family because now you're paying child support for a child that you probably not even receiving child support for, if that was my case. But I had to pay child support to the facility that housed my son for him not listening, not obeying the rules at home, not being in at his curfew time and doing what he wanted to do with his friends. That was a very interesting time of my life. Very challenging, a lot of different financial hardships that came from it. Working, trying to establish myself, trying to still build a life, raise these kids, trying to make a relationship work that wasn't working, all the things you could think of that could make you lose your mind. Somehow, through God's grace, I did not lose my mind. Somehow, through God's grace, I was able to manage and maintain. And that comes from what we call self-control. And a lot of times when you are working to, hold on, let me see. Who's at my door? Somebody was at the door. Hold on one moment, please, guys. Sorry. Who's at my door? If somebody was there. So they opened it. Hey babe, I'm doing my live. Come on, you open the door, but you didn't yeah. I left it unlocked for you because I knew that you were coming. So just bear with me here. Sorry, guys. All right, I'm back. My apologies. Where I was going into talking about is self-control. And a lot of times, because I've over my years, over 25 plus years of working in service and human service in the human services field in various areas and working with young people, they like to tell you, I can't control it. I can't help how I act. And I always counteract them back with, if you can't control how you act, then who else can control you? You're the only one that's responsible for it, right? So anyway, long story short, through that period of my life, I was going through a lot of different changes. We got divorced. We got a unstable relationship that's failing. We have 2 teenage children that are in the prime of their life, doing what they want to do, not obeying my rule, because they're trying to identify who they are and establish their selves and who they are in the world. And I have two parents that I am now learning that I have to care for while I'm still working part-time jobs, going to school, and trying to make it. Hardship, financial hardship, a lot. But God has a way of working it out, being resilient in adversity. I want to share with you the chapter on self-control from The Laws of Success by Napoleon Hill. And I'm just going to read a small insert here. It says, you come now to the study of self-control, through which you may direct your enthusiasm to constructive ends. Without self-control, enthusiasm resembles the unharnessed lightning of an electrical storm. It may strike anywhere. It may destroy life and property. Enthusiasm is the vital quality that arouses you to action, while self-control is the balanced will that directs your actions so that it will build up and not tear down. To be a person is well balanced. You must be a person in whom enthusiasm and self-control are equalized. A survey that I have just completed of the 160,000 adult inmates of penitentiaries of the United States discloses that startling fact that 92% of these unfortunate men and women are in prison because they lack the necessary self-control to direct their energies constructively. Read the foregoing paragraph again, and it's authentic. It is startling. It is a fact that the majority of man's griefs come about through lack of self-control. The Holy Scripture are full of admonitions in support of self-control. They even urge us to love our enemies and to forgive those who injure us. The law of non-resistance runs like a golden cord throughout the Bible. He suggests that we study the records of those men whom the world calls great, and observe that every one of them possesses this quality of self-control. And emotional wellness allows you to maintain your self-control. There's a few characteristics I want to share with you of an emotionally well-balanced person. These are some of the characteristics they should have. Now, are we going to be all together all the time? No, because we are human. Let's not act like we cannot be impacted by what happens in our lives in this world, because we can be. But these characteristics are characteristics I want you to jot down and just be mindful of and see if some of these characteristics are a part of you. 1, having the ability to talk with someone about your emotional concerns and share your feelings with others. 2, the ability to say no without feelings of guilt. 3, the ability to have feelings of content most of the time. 4, feelings of having a strong support network, people you care about. 5, having the ability to relax. Now, characteristics of a good mental health: emotional stability, feeling calm, ability to manage emotions, show resilience, the ability to cope with the stresses of daily life, develop an opinion toward the positiveness about your life and future, your self-esteem, carry positivity about yourself, and develop the ability to relax. These are all the characteristics of emotional wellness, someone that is emotionally well balanced. They kind of know how to manage their self, how to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and bring it down instead of escalating. And for the most part, most of us are together pretty well emotionally. But then there's times where we're not. There are certain situations that can throw us off our game to make us emotionally not well. And what might those things be? So if you followed me this morning and you heard the morning motivation on Tammy's.shop, you joined us this morning, or maybe you saw the replay throughout the day. I asked you guys about 6 questions. So we're going to kind of get through the meat and potatoes, and we're doing good. It's 6:17. So we're doing well. The questions that I asked this morning, and I hope that you took the opportunity to write them down and answer them for yourself. This is all a part of self-discovery, self-awareness, so that you know how you operate and you know what your triggers are. You know what you can kind of tolerate, what you don't, what you're not going to tolerate. This is how you begin to develop the non-negotiables in your life. Okay? Because some things are non-negotiable. They're not open for discussion, and they're not going to be changed. Right? I think we all have that line. We call them a boundary. Okay. So the first question was, what do you do when you're not focused on achieving your goals? Let's see, is anybody participating with me here? I don't see anyone watching there. Let me see how many participants. Let me see. Do I have any participants? No, it's still just me, but that's okay. It's okay. It's all right. I got this. Anyhow, what do you do when you're not focused on achieving your goals? What do I do when I'm not focused on achieving my goals? Since I have gone through some things and learned some things over my lifespan, I now know that I focus on me. I focus on the things that I want out of life, the things that I want to do. I think about, how am I going to get there? What do I need to get there? And I try to enjoy myself. I try to find the things that I enjoy doing that makes me happy, that pleases my soul. Because it's not always about goals. Sometimes it has to be about you. Well, most times it's about you, but for the most part, when you're not working towards your goals, it should be about you, because the more balanced you are with yourself, the more you learn yourself, the more you love on yourself, the better you will feel about life and be more capable of handling when turbulence comes. The next question was, how high would you rate your comfort level with stability in your life? Most of us would rate stability really, really high on our scale, because stability knows that every day that we go to work, we know at the end of the week, or at the end of every 2 weeks, or at the end of the month, that you're going to receive some type of income for that. And you know that that's your stability to maintain how you're living. And if you can look at it not in a sense of income, maybe say your family stability. At the end, every morning you wake up, you prepare your family, you send them off, you tell them you love them, you send them out the door, you go out the door, you do what you need to do, and at the end of the night, you expect all of them to be home. But what happens that day when one doesn't come home? Right? So it kind of disrupts the stability. It's high on the list, but when it's disrupted, people don't like it. How high would you rate your comfort level with self-protection? Another one I think people would rate as high, because you want to feel protected. You want to know that you're safe when you're going out, going to work, doing what you need to do every day. You want to know that you're going to be safe coming home. You want to know that you're safe walking around your neighborhood. You want to know that you're safe within your own home, because your home is your castle, and that's where your serenity. No turmoil should be in your home. That should be your first location of peace. So self-protection is something that is rated high. If you agree, please leave the comments in the bottom and feel free to share yours. The next question was, how high would you rate your comfort level with freedom? I would say that's pretty high. If you like moving about, doing what you're doing, going about your life and not moving on someone else's clock, but moving on your own clock, and doing things in your own fashion, I would say freedom is pretty high to decide where you want to be, whatever day it is, whatever time it is, doing whatever it is that you want to do. I would say that that's pretty high. How high would you rate your comfort level with fulfillment? Do you think that life fulfillment is high on our list? Or is it some kind of way that we kind of lose sight of life fulfillment because of all the busy that the world has created for us? You know, COVID, during the pandemic, we had a chance to slow everything down and really take notice of all the things that we had not really paid attention to because we were moving right along, just doing our regular day schedules. And some of us work, 8, 12, 16, if not more hours on a daily basis. And is that really living to your full fulfillment of life? I would have to say no, but I would think that we would want to have more fulfillment. I found that for more fulfillment for my life is something that I'm working on now. It's one of my goals. Isn't that beautiful? So the next question was, how high would you rate your comfort level with uncertainty? Well, I would think that uncertainty kind of gets a low score because nobody likes uncertainty. You don't like not knowing what's going to happen next. You don't like when things are kind of like up in the air and you're kind of like hanging in limbo trying to see where it's all going to fall and land, right? So I want to know how you guys are rating these areas of in your life. What does it mean to you? How does it apply to your life? And how does it impact your emotional wellness? And then one of the questions was, how does these categories impact you as an individual and then as a member of a group? So, and we talked about this morning where there has been a lot of considerable controversy as to what a group is and the purpose of a group, right? So I took some time. Can you guys see here? All right, I know you guys can see right here on the laptop. Got it here in the groups. And now let me see. Let me get this situated. I think, is it situated? I don't know. Let me see. I don't know, guys. I'm doing my best. Hold on. Hang on in there with me. I got you. All right. I think I got it. I think I got it now. Okay. All right. So basically, what is a group? A group can be defined as your family, your peers, your co-workers, a club you may belong to, organization, anything of that nature, right? A group is basically a number of individuals who interact with one another. So this morning, I gave you a list of groups, and I said that I would review them this evening. So I think I'm doing pretty good as far as what I planned for us this evening. So that kind of excites me too, that I get to get it all out. We're going to look at the interpersonal interaction group. What type of group do you think that might be? The interpersonal interaction group. What do you think that might be? Anybody want to take a stab at it? It's just me. So I guess I'll take a stab at it. All right. So interpersonal interaction group is defined by a number of individuals who are interactive with one another. According to this definition, a group does not exist unless individuals are interacting. Social scientists who have defined group in this way are Hare, Boner, Stockdale, sorry if I jacked that name up, and Homans. So an interpersonal interaction group, this group, I would like to explain it as your group when you're coming together and you're interacting with each other. I guess you're not a group if you're not together. So, yeah. Yeah. So the interpersonal interaction group is definitely based off of the fact that two or more people come together to interact, and that makes them an interpersonal group. Then we have the interdependence. And interdependence, this group may be defined as a collection of individuals who are interdependent in some way. According to this definition, the individuals are not a group unless an event that affects one of them affects them all. Social scientists who have defined group in this way are Cartwright, Zander, Fielder, and Lewin. Says a group is a collection of individuals who have relations to one another that make them interdependent to some significant degree. So you can be a part of the group and be interdependent and come together for a common cause. That's one way to become a group. And then we have the goals group. Anybody want to take a stab at it? Oh, just me again. All right. Well, let's goals group. A goals group. Now that group exists for a reason. These people join together in order to achieve goals they are unable to achieve by themselves. A group may be defined as a number of individuals who join together to achieve a goal. It is questionable whether a group could exist unless there was a mutual goal that its members were trying to achieve. So the goals group brings us together because we have a common mutual goal that we're working together. Then we have the perception, where is it at? The perception of membership group. And that group is defined as a social unit consisting of two or more persons who perceive themselves as belonging into a group. According to this definition, the persons are not a group unless they perceive themselves one. So it says a small group is defined as any number of persons engaged in interaction with one another in a single face-to-face meeting or series, such as meetings in which each member receives some impressions or perceptions of each other members distinct enough so that he can either at the time or in later questioning give some reaction to each of the others as an individual person, even though it be only to recall that the other was present. So perception of membership group is a group that comes together to engage with each other in interaction, face-to-face meetings, and they do this consistently. They may meet every day, they may meet once a month, they might meet once a week, but they're consistent in their group and they're coming together as members, and they check with one another to ensure that they are working together clearly on what it is that they're working on in a group. So the next one is motivation. And a motivation group is defined as individuals who are trying to satisfy some personal need through the joint association. According to this definition, the individuals are not a group unless they are motivated by some personal reason to be part of a group. Individuals belong to the group in order to obtain needed rewards or to satisfy personal needs. It's questionable that a group could exist without its members' needs being satisfied by their membership. Social science who have defined groups in this way are based in Cattell We define group as a collective of individuals whose existence as a collection is rewarding to the individuals. The definition which seems most essential is that a group is a collection of organisms in which the existence of it all in their given relationship is necessary to the satisfaction of certain individuals' needs in each. So a motivation group, they need each other. They're working on and supporting one another's needs, and seeking rewards, right? Structural relationships. Now, the structural relationships, and I'm sorry for looking down, guys, because I gotta read. I try to keep everything up here, but I'm sorry, by this time of day, I can't hold everything up here, so I have to read it. And I hope that's not a problem for you. I hope this is helpful to you as you are looking at your emotional wellness, some of the characteristics of being emotionally well, looking at how you rate, stability in your life, self-protection, freedom, fulfillment, and uncertainty. All this comes together, or at least Lord willing, I hope and pray it does. Structural relationships, let's see. In structural relationship groups, it's a collection of individuals whose interactions are structured by a set of rules and norms. According to this definition, the individuals are not a group unless their interactions are structured by a set rule definition and norms. The social scientists who have defined a group in this way is McDavid and Hara and Sheriff and Sharif. I think I might have jacked his name up. But anyway, we've gone over this information before, and this is why it's a little bit easier for me, because when I first started out, I was sharing all of this with you all. So this is just a repeat for those that may have not caught the first in. This is how we're coming together collectively, working towards building ourselves so that we can utilize our minds to begin building a better life. We must know who we are first, and know who we are as an individual and who we are in a group. It helps a lot. The structured group, right? Did I read that already? Yes, I did, right? Yeah. A social psychological group is an organized system of two or more individuals who are interrelated so that the system performs some functions as has a standard set of rule relationships among its members, and has a set of norms that regulate the functions of the group and each of its members. And the group is a social unit which consists of members who stand in more or less definite status and role relationships to one another, and which possesses a set of values or norms of its own regulating the behavior of individual members, at least in matters of consistency to the group. So my next question would be, what type of groups are these? Could you name them? I know we have anyone, well, I don't know. I just hope that my followers that follow me, I'm just assuming that you guys are just as, jazzy and snazzy as I am. So you've been a part of groups, right? And we've gone over every group so far except for the mutual influence group. Now, can you tell me, have you ever been a part of an interpersonal interaction group, an interdependence group, a goals group, a perceptions group? How about a motivational group, or even a structured relationship group? Drop it in the comments for me. Mutual influence is our next one. And a mutual influence is a collection of individuals who influence each other. Individuals are not a group unless they are affecting and being affected by each other. Therefore, the primary defining characteristics of the group is interpersonal influence. And that's by Shaw. A group is two or more persons who are interacting with one another in such a manner that each personal influences and is influenced by each one person. Now, I'm sure that in any of these groups, a family, your peers, your coworkers, a club, organization, some kind of way, these group categories, you fit in them. But how are you as an individual, and how are you as a group member? Some people are group people and some people are not. What did I want to write down? What time is it? Okay, 6:37. Trying to think what else did I have for you guys, because I did have something else, and I think I kind of got a little sidetracked. But nope, here we go. I found it. Okay, now in going over our emotional wellness, seeing how you deal with adversity, how well you are at handling stress, life's ups and downs, the uncertainty, the unsafe, not feeling protected. How does that impact your life? How does that impact you emotionally? I know I can speak from my own experience and life changes that I've gone through. Some of them have been quite impacting on my life, and I think have changed my life for the rest of my life. However, some kind of way through God's grace, I find a peace of mind. And it's so funny because this is something that, me and Man would fuss about all the time. My son, he would get mad at me, basically, because things be going on, life happens on life terms, young mom, married, divorced twice, raising these kids, trying to be all I could be, trying to be every woman, literally trying to be every woman, the community mom, getting involved in the community, getting involved in their schools, going around, got an opportunity to be a part of neighborhood leadership initiative and go out and do some trainings, things that broadened my horizon and showed me that my life was bigger than the community that I lived in. But it didn't come without sacrifices, because you can't be in two places at the same time. All you can do is hope that the person that you leave your children with will abide by your rules and help them stick to it and stick with it. However, the children were old enough to make decisions. They knew right from wrong, and they made their choices. But along the way, I was still the provider, the caregiver. And sometimes it's just more month than it is money. And I would fall short. And some things would kind of fall to the wayside. And that would upset him so much. And I would tell him, I'd be like, okay, well, it's all right. I say, my line was, don't worry about it. It's going to work out some kind of way. And he's like, what? What do you mean don't worry about it? But that was my only response. I didn't know what to say. What could I say to these young children that I'm raising? I'm responsible to make sure the lights are on, the roof is, that we got a home, I'm feeding them, they got shoes on their feet. That's a whole nother story in itself. But anyway, it was different trials and tribulations that I've gone through that built me. And had I not been keen enough to pay attention to how I was feeling, how my actions was going to impact everybody else. And that's why I always say we're all connected by one person. So don't ever think that what you do is just impacting your life, because what you do is impacting not only your life, but the people that you're attached to. And maybe sometimes people outside of the people you're attached to, because some of those people you're attached to are attached to them. So it's very important as we look at, how we are training our mind, what we're entertaining our mind with, how are we best utilizing our mind, and how is what we're thinking impacting our life and our behaviors, and how are we navigating through life with it. Now, I understand there's times where there's chemical imbalance. I'm not saying that. But even with the chemical imbalance, even with the mental health illness, there's a certain level of control that only you can control and make happen in your life. And you have to take that power. You have to take the power to control, to make sure that you're emotionally well. Because they say when you look good, you feel good. My thing is, if you're thinking good thoughts, you're going to produce good out of your life. So I want to share this with you because we're talking about mindset. We're talking about emotional wellness. All that is a part of who we are. And it plays our mindset plays a big part in it. So a paradigm, according to sociologist Patricia Neal Collins, notes a paradigm consists of the beliefs, values, assumptions, and techniques shared by the members of a community or profession. A paradigm then is a guide or map that the members of a discipline follow in choosing topics of study and deciding what methods to use to study them, and developing theories to explain their findings, and deciding to what uses their findings will be part of. Since sociology is a multiple paradigm science, it consists, as Collins points out, of a system of knowledge shared by sociologists, but also of a number of competing paradigms. For example, you have the functionalists, you have the Marxists, you have the feminists, and so on. Sociology is a social product. The body of knowledge that composes it has been shaped by the specific social, political, and economic circumstances in which sociologists live. There's facts versus values, then you have the history, then you have individual and private problems, and then you have the connection of private troubles with public issues. Examples: unemployment, war, divorce, urban life. A cause plus a solution. So I realized along the way that I could not parent my children the way that I was parented. But what I could do was bring the knowledge that I learned along the way and still implement that with them and tweak it just a little. Because I still think the old way is the good way. Yeah, it works. It sets the foundation. That's just who I am. And it's part of my makeup. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. When you enter the room, you speak to everybody. You do not, when you're spoken to by an adult, you respond back, and that's something that I miss a lot sometimes when you interact with young people. And I'm not saying that all young people are that way. I'm just saying the small percentage. It plays a part, and it has a lot to do with their emotional wellness. It has a lot to do with the adults, the role models that's in their group, that they're observing, that they're watching. If you can't control your behavior, how are you going to correct the kid and you can't even control yourself? Like, I don't know, it just gets me. But anyway, I'm not going to get on my soapbox. That's not what I'm here for tonight. I'm here to talk about emotional wellness, how navigating through life challenges, financial hardships, life up and downs, life on life terms, loss of a relationship, loss of a loved one. All these things can impact your life, can impact your finances, can impact your ability to continue on in spite of. And there's some things that are going to bring you to your knees and kind of ask yourself, what the hell? Like, what's going on here, God? Like, just let me know what's going on here, because how am I supposed to handle this? In one sense, you want to be the gangster mom. I'm gonna just say, I can only speak about me. I can't speak about y'all. I'm just saying, in one sense, sometimes I want to be the gangster, which is pretty fun when I call myself getting in my bag. The kids usually laugh because I realized that I don't use a lot of profanity because I don't know how to really use it properly, and or it doesn't really sound all that great coming out. And the fact that I'm a mom and I wanted them to know that there's other words in the dictionary that they could use to verbalize how they felt. I chose to use other words instead of profanity to them, which made a difference in some areas. But after they turned 18, they just start cursing like sailors. But but after, they still respect mom. But they just did what they wanted to do. But instilling in them what was instilled in me, because I think that how I was raised, the structure, although I had two parents that were, how do I describe their parenting style? Definitely authoritative. We was not a democracy. Lem Rogers ran that house. Straight up and down. But it's cool. I'm grateful that he ran the house, because of those skills and things that I learned along the way, learning at a young age, that when things don't go your way, falling all apart, throwing a tantrum, tearing up where you live at, didn't help. First of all, it wasn't allowed. That's a good way to get your hiney warmed up, but it wasn't allowed. So I learned, it helped me to adapt and learn other ways to handle when life didn't go the way that I expected it. Prayer was one part of it. Self-talk, telling myself who I am, what I want to do. It definitely infused the imagination. It began as a child, the dreams of who I wanted to be as an adult. Now, did the dream quite turn out the way that I thought it was going to be? Not at all. But am I grateful to be where I'm at? Yes, I am. So in other words, it worked out the way it was supposed to work out in the master's plan, not my plan. Sometimes the way we plan things, it's not the way it goes. I believe I've shared my story with you all, that I was not the young lady that dreamt about her wedding day. That was not my dream. My dream was 2 kids with a man with no head. So, thus that the man with no head, he had to be God, because that's who brought us through. Although, thank you to those sirs that were a part of our life. It meant a lot, different people in your life, and the fabric of their character, the fabric of who they are, what they bring, stays with you for many, many years, whether you see them or you don't. They stick with you and they become a part of you. And it helps you to have different perspectives to pull from as a child growing into an adult, because now you know how to regulate yourself. You'll at least get an idea. If you have adults around you that are emotionally well, that know how to control themselves when they're angry, that knows how to communicate how they're feeling, their anger, and know how to process it properly. That's where emotional wellness comes in at. Now, it takes some practice. It doesn't happen overnight. I don't think I got this way overnight. I think over years, and then just learning that some battles are not mine. Some battles are really God's, and I had to let them go. Now, what was in my control? Yes, by all means, make sure that whatever is in your control, that you're doing what it do to get it done. Because if you don't, it's not going to get done and you have nobody else to blame but yourself. And before we wrap up tonight, because I see I'm doing great, it's 6:51. Wow, this hour goes so fast. And thank you all so much for joining me. Your presence definitely, truly is the present for me. And I appreciate you for that. Thank you. I want to leave you with 3 keys to a vital life, shared by Mr. Earl Nightingale. So I'm just going to recite them to you because Jim Rohn says if someone's already said it and it's a good saying, you might as well repeat it. So I'm repeating it because I think we could all benefit from this evening. It's really 3 keys. I said 2, right? 3 keys. The 3 keys are to a vital life. Make a decision as to what you want enough to give it most of your attention until you achieve it, and to clearly define it. 2, we have the ability to achieve the goal, or we would not have chosen it in the first place. 3, you must have the ability to serve others, as others will serve you. And those are the basic laws of economics. So if your cash flow is having interruption, you might want to go back to those 3 keys to a vital life. Is there something that you need to work out? Is it something that you need to clarify? Are you not unclear as to the path that you want to take? Do you have the abilities, and are you applying those abilities? Are you being intentional? Are you being disciplined and committed to do the work that is required for you to achieve that goal? And last but not least, how willing are you to serve? In this world, I don't know, that's just my field of service that I've been serving my whole life. I feel like I don't mind it. It's just a part of who I am. And some kind of way, it doesn't always come back monetary. Sometimes it just comes back as a blessing. Sometimes it comes back as I'm grateful to wake up the next day. Or maybe I'm lucky enough, I might meet a friend or 2, but I don't know what it takes for anyone else. But I want to thank you for your time this evening, for allowing me to come and disrupt your evening at 6 p.m. and share my story with you, share and discuss about emotional wellness, because we never know what someone is going through. Life is very challenging, and I can speak on that. When life serves you lemonade, believe you me, sweetie, I hope that you make the best damn lemonade that you can ever make. Don't just settle for the lemons. We fall down, but we darn sure have the power to get back up. And before I go, I ain't forgot, we're 88 days, right? We're getting back into, what are we doing? We're getting back in financial shape. I almost forgot just that fast. Okay. Tonight, anyone that's interested in attending Wealth Talk, you can join. I'm so grateful. I didn't do the presentation. I did the presentation last night. If you want to see that presentation, you can go and review last night's live session. However, if you want to meet some of the most dynamic people that's in my group here, I guess we are a membership group, I guess, because we have a perception of membership. We're linked to one another. We have a common goal that we're working on. And that is to help as many families as possible this year to gain their buying power back. We want to help some families buy their first home, save up some money, and learn how to invest. And not only earn their money, we want them to learn how to build wealth. But you won't learn it if you don't come to the room. And we're going to be having a meeting tonight at 8 o'clock. So if you like to attend, make sure that you DM me. I will drop the link down into my financial literacy and win in life group for my members there, because you're specifically in that group for a reason. And it's whenever you're ready. Nobody can set your clock but you. You have to decide when it's time for you to begin to start driving your own boat. Assess your life, figure out who you are, whose you are, what it is that you want out of life, and go for it, because only you can do it. So with that being said, I'm going to say bye-bye to Facebook. And Derek, oh, Peter, thanks so much for joining. Happy New Year's, my pal. Love you. Thank you so much for joining. And drop us a link. So goodbye, Facebook. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Talk to you later. All right, we're closing out of Facebook here. Let's do this. I'm gonna post that. That's done. So now we're gonna go over here. Hold on. Close that. So now we want to go here, and we want to say goodbye to you on YouTube. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for allowing me to come and interrupt your evening this evening at 6 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. I hope